The PlayStation 2 had so many great games that flew completely under the radar. Real hidden gems. I swear, half of them people don't even know exist. And in this video, I'm bringing those games back. Classics you probably never played. Or if you did, you never actually finished. So go ahead and toss that crusty old Madden case you've been hoarding since middle school. It's time to make room for some real PS2 heat. Alright, let's do this. Starting off at number 10. Let's start this list off with something deep in the PS2 archives. Second Sight is one of those games that barely got any love, and that's a crime. It's a third-person shooter with stealth and psychic powers. Kinda like Metal Gear Solid, but with a paranormal twist. It dropped back in 2004 for the PS2 and later hit GameCube and PC. Developed by Free Radical and published by Codemasters. You play as John Vatic. Dude wakes up in some secret lab with no memory except for a mission in Siberia. That happened 6 months ago. And as the story unfolds, he finds out he's got crazy psychic abilities. Telekinesis, mind control, remote viewing. It gets intense. Now fair warning, the tutorial is long, like painfully long, but it teaches you everything you need to survive. And trust me, the payoff is worth it. The powers are fun to use and the vibe of the game is super atmospheric. Plus, the sound design is legit. You hear the wind, birds, distant aircraft, pretty immersive for a PS2 title. Ever played this one? I doubt it. But if you did, drop a comment, because you're one of the few. This game has cult classic written all over it. Darkwatch came out in 2005, and it's like someone threw Red Dead Van Helsing and Doom into a blender and hit vampire mode. You play as Jericho Cross, an outlaw in the old West who gets turned into a vampire and then recruited by a secret monster hunting group called the Darkwatch. The whole game is drenched in gothic Western aesthetics, crosses, cathedrals, spooky vibes. Even your weapons have crucifix designs. The first-person shooting is smooth, the action is non-stop, and the story, surprisingly cool. It's one of those games that feels way better than you'd expect, and it definitely deserved more attention than it got. If you're a Darkwatch fan, you already know. If not, fix that. Demon Siege dropped in 2004, and it's the best in the series, hands down. You play as Samanosuke, a samurai, fighting off demonic invaders in feudal Japan. But then, bam! You get thrown into modern-day Paris and team up with a French commando voiced by Jean Reno. Yeah, that Jean Reno. It's hack and slash goodness, with slick swordplay, soul-absorbing mechanics, and an epic storyline. The transitions between ancient Japan and future Paris are seamless and packed with action. It's got that Capcom flavor all over it, and it's criminally underrated outside Japan. This is where the series took a dark turn, in a good way. Released in 2000. And 4 by Ubisoft, Warrior Within ditched the light-hearted tone of Sands of Time and went full edge. Think gothic architecture, dual swords, heavy metal soundtrack. It was a total vibe shift. The prince is darker, the enemies are meaner, and the combat is way more brutal. You've got the ability to dual-wield, steal enemy weapons, and of course, rewind time if you screw up. There's also the Dark Prince, this evil version of yourself that keeps popping up throughout the game. The whole thing is like an emo fever dream, and it's awesome. Still one of the best trilogies from the PS2 era. Now we're talking Chaos. God Hand, released in 2006 by Clover Studio and Capcom, is one of the most insane beat-em-ups ever made. You play as Gene, a dude with a literal god hand that lets him deliver divine smackdowns. It's hard, like really hard. This isn't a game you can play half asleep on the couch, you're gonna get wrecked. A lot. But when you master the combo system and unleash God Hand mode, pure satisfaction. Add in a bizarre sense of humor, ridiculous bosses, and wild music, and you've got a cult classic that's still loved today. It's one of those so weird it's amazing games. And yeah, we need a remake. If you were a Simpsons fan growing up, this game was your dream come true. Released in 2003, Hit and Run was basically GTA Springfield Edition. Open world, full voice acting, tons of missions, and a whole lot of chaos. You get to play as Homer, Bart, Lisa, Marge, and Apu as you drive around Springfield dealing with alien conspiracies and mind control cola. It's ridiculous in the best way. The controls are tight, the humor is spot on, and the vibe, peak early 2000s. Honestly, still one of the best licensed games ever made. And yeah, we're still waiting on that remaster. This one is pure survival horror. Originally released on the Dreamcast and ported to PS2 a few months later, Code Veronica X picks up after the events of Resident Evil 2. Claire is searching for her brother, Chris, and ends up imprisoned on a remote island full of zombies, weird experiments, and nightmare fuel. The puzzles are tricky, the inventory management is tense, and the story goes deep into Umbrella's dark secrets. It's harder than most Resident Evil games, and the early game throws you into the fire fast. If you finish this one, you know, it's not for beginners, but it's absolutely worth playing. This one is a hidden gem for real. Rise to Honor came out in 2004 and starred Jet Li himself. The devs used motion capture to nail his fighting style, and the results are smooth as butter. You play as Kit Yun, a bodyguard who gets caught in a massive criminal conspiracy. The combat uses the right analog stick to fight in all directions, which felt super fresh at the time. It's got vibes similar to Yakuza and Jackie Chan's Stuntmaster, but with more polish and drama. The cutscenes feel like a full-on martial arts, and the soundtrack hits hard. Total sleeper hit from the PS2 era. Time to go, full dark mode. Manhunt 2. Released in 2007 and instantly stirred controversy. Developed by Rockstar, it's a stealth horror game where you play as Daniel Lamb, a patient who escaped a mental asylum with no memory and a voice in his head named Leo. The game's all about sneaking, hiding, and pulling off brutal executions. It's gritty, intense, and absolutely not for kids. The violence caused a ton of backlash, with censorship fights all over the world. But despite that, it's a solid stealth game with a wild story and some truly disturbing moments. If you've got the nerves for it, it's a must-play. Let's end this list with fire. Literally, Ghost Rider hit the PS2 in 2007, based on the movie with Nicolas Cage. But the game? Way more fun than you'd expect. You play as Johnny Blaze, wielding your flaming chain and a shotgun while tearing through demons from hell. The gameplay feels like God of War, with combos, upgrades, and over-the-top finishers. You even get to ride the Hell Cycle in some levels, dodging fireballs and smashing obstacles like a metalhead version of Road Rash. The story picks up after the movie and keeps things dark, gritty, and epic. The visuals were solid for the time, and the metal soundtrack made everything feel cooler. Totally underrated game, and honestly, still fun to go back and play today. And that's a wrap, folks. If any of these games brought back memories or made you want to try something new, go ahead and hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next drop of PS2 classics, lost treasures, and hidden gems from the golden era of gaming. Thanks for watching. Stay nostalgic. Stay legendary.